I thought it'd be nice to finish with like this thought experiment. I feel like we might have all done this at some point, so it's interesting to see what you guys would say now. But are you guys ready?
Sure.
Okay. The thought experiment is: there's a runway trolley bearing down the runway tracks. Ahead on the tracks, there are 5 people tied up and they are unable to move. The trolley is heading straight for them. You are standing some distance off in the train yard next to a lever. If you pull this lever, the trolley will switch to a different set of tracks. However, you notice there is that one person on that side of the tracks. Now you have 2 options. You do nothing and allow the trolley to kill the 5 people on the main track, or pull the lever, diverting the trolley onto the side of the track where it will just kill 1 person. What is the more ethical option, or is it more simple? What is the right thing to do? So what is your decision, guys? Are you guys pushing the lever, leaving it alone? What would you do in this predicament?
I mean, I feel that this actually, trolley car problems are really interesting because there really isn't no answer. There's so many different perspectives you could take, and so they're really fascinating to discuss because there's kind of this knowledge that nobody is really right or wrong. As long as you present your case, you have kind of a valid case in just about everything. So that's why I really love the trolley car problem and similar iterations of the trolley car problem. I think this is tricky, and I think it involves a lot of analysis of the possibilities in both scenarios, right? So when thinking about trolley car problems, I like to think about these things called qualies, or one of my teachers called them qualies, and qualies are essentially like things like looking at the different factors, the different consequence to either thing happening. So, like for example, in you could say you could ask yourself, okay, what is that one person on the track? Like what is his potential, and like what are the other 5 people's potential as well? Because you could have different iterations and say, well, maybe the one person on the track that the train is heading towards is a scientist on the verge of curing all cancer and saving so many lives. Whereas the 5 people on the 5 people on the other track are I don't know, maybe we don't know their backstory, or maybe they're 5 little kids, tabla rasas, as some philosophers would say. So I think it's those considerations that make it so interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think?
There's always the like utilitarian perspective, obviously, of just switching it because 1 is less than 5. But I think there's also the idea of addressing what your intent is. Like when you're doing acts like that, if the objective is to, I think it's Karl Marx, or no, I think it's Immanuel Kant, I think, who who usually does the addresses your act with what your objective is and your outcome, I believe. And so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that situation, but I don't know. Throw myself in the front if it stops. I don't know. Yell at the one person to move.
But I mean, there's also like what you were saying, the ethical perspective of this situation, where you're talking about intent. So, I mean, technically, if you don't do anything, you're technically not a murderer. You're more of a witness because you're not purposely like, because if you were to switch the lever, you'd be killing one person, and you took that action to kill one person. But like morally speaking, if you don't do anything, I feel like you're not like you're not killing anyone because I mean you kind of are because you have. I mean, yeah, it's complex. Like it's not easy, but do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's not easy on like a personal conscious perspective at all.
There's there's another one I've heard about that's kind of similar, but has to do with like responsibility. And the situation is you're involved in a 2-car crash on your way to work one morning, in which you accidentally hit and kill a pedestrian. As you get out of the car, you're intercepted by a tearful woman who seems to think that she and killed the person. So you're not sure why she thinks she hit the person, but she's convinced. And there's only you, the woman, and the person you hit on the road, and no witnesses. So you know that whoever is responsible will probably go to jail. So then it's like, what do you do? Like, do you step in, take responsibility? I don't know. Do you guys have any other perspectives?
I mean, I would just try to communicate with like everybody involved and be like, that wasn't my intent. You have to understand. And I think my initial reaction would like I wouldn't care about this lady who's crying. I would try to help the person I hit, just worry about their well being, and then deal with like the external factors maybe later. I mean, what would you guys do? I don't know. That's my stark opinion.
That's very like I find that very interesting because I think it might be a bit harder to be more egalitarian in in that situation because there's not you don't have to consider like the number of people. It's either you or her, and so there's less consideration in in that perspective. I feel that if we were to sort of make the assumption that the individual who has been hurt has, let's say, died on impact, and so there's no saving that person, like the kind of that is what it is, and you're kind of faced with this dilemma. It's there's a lot of different factors that one could consider, and again, there's no really right or wrong answer with any of these dilemmas, right? You could consider what the impact of that woman going to jail, right? How many family members does she have? How close is she to her family members? How much would her, going to jail be, sort of present a hardship for a number of other people? Is this woman like does she have some like really significant contribution that that we must consider? Like, I don't know, she's a scientist on the verge of curing some very maybe she's on the verge of curing some very deadly disease, and so her impact, if she was able to actually do that, would be monumental, and that would only happen if she stayed out of jail. Versus, what is that other person's sort of more egalitarian contribution? Like what is the I feel like egalitarianism functions on the premise is how do you maximize happiness and good for all, for everybody. And so it's if you were to think about it from an egalitarian perspective, those are things that you might take into consideration.
True. I mean, yeah, it is always just fun to like talk about and think about how you'd go about different factors, but it is what it is.
Is there any like final message or anything else you want to add, Selise?
I think just like thank you for letting me come here and talk a lot about the things I really love. I hope it was a useful discussion.
Thanks for hopping on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for coming.